Werewolves are a common theme in America and some parts of Europe, but the Levant and North Africa have their own versions of it called Werehyenas. Unlike the werewolves, they don't turn into beasts every full moon. They can turn any time, and that's why you should be wary of them. Let's have a look into these beasts plaguing North Africa. Different parts of North and East Africa have their own stories of Werehyenas: Somalia, Ethiopia, and Morocco. In Somalia, they are sometimes known as Qori Ismaris, or the one who rubs himself with a stick. It is believed that to turn into a hyena, one must rub himself with a magical stick continuously so that he turns into the beast, and use it to turn into human again. But there are some sources which say that they must perform some secretive rituals before they are able to transform into Werehyenas. It is said that they are mainly found in the Galbeed, Banadir, and the Shabelle region. They are said to be leather producers by trade because it is easier for them to hide their beastly nature through this profession. However, in Ethiopia and Morocco, they are known by a different name called Buddha. Unlike the Qori Ismaris, whose special ability comes from the magic stick, the Buddha is said to have powers that come from the evil eye. And just like how people in Somalia believe that only a certain group are Qori Ismaris, so do the people in Ethiopia. The Ethiopians believe that the Beta Israelites, or the Ethiopian Jews, possess the power of the evil eye and are able to turn into Buddha. Either that or metal workers, i.e. blacksmiths. However, most of the people who are deemed to be Buddha are people who are outsiders. They don't belong to the local populace of Ethiopia, so this could very well be a tactic to scapegoat outsiders into making them subservient to Ethiopian society, to integrate with them, or to drive them out. Or they could actually have the ability to transform into beasts. No one can say for sure. But coming back to the supernatural side of things, there is a deterrence against the Buddha, and that is an amulet or a talisman called kitab, that is used to ward off the powers of the evil eye. This amulet is made by a person who is a deptera, a sort of priest that specializes in folklore, medicine, and sometimes magic. But this belief is mainly found in Ethiopian Christians and Jews as opposed to the Ethiopian Muslims. Moving on to the Moroccan version of the Buddha. They believe a Buddha is a human who shapeshifts into a were-hyena during the night and then back again. It links into what the Ethiopians believe. Yet unlike what the Qori Ismaris are, the Buddha are generally believed to be human beings who can turn into beasts and not the other way around. This is where there is a distinction between these two similar beliefs. But it's just not in these places where hyenas exist. Because according to some sources, people have witnessed this across the pond, specifically in the Indian subcontinent. In a story that dates back to 1334 AD during the Turkic rule of Delhi, a kaftar was seen and executed in a town just outside of Delhi. A kaftar is basically a Persian equivalent of a were-hyena. It was suspected of killing at least 15 people, though some people suggest its body count could have been higher. They narrowed down the list of the suspects to a woman after she was seen standing next to a young child and that child collapsed. Later, through a thorough investigation, they found out that the child was missing a heart. And stealing hearts without touching people is a speciality of the kaftars, so the woman was suspected and then executed. But let's move on to more juicier parts. Have people come across any were-hyenas recently? Let's take a look. There are various sources and accounts of people witnessing these beasts, some of them quite old. In 1918, a British officer stationed in Nigeria was frustrated at the fact that something was eating his livestock. It would eat them in a gruesome manner, often tearing out the heads of his livestock. So one night he had a stake out and set up a bait to lure the creature. The creature appeared from the bushes and seemed to have successfully taken the bait. As he began eating the bait, the officer emerged from his hiding place and shot at the creature. He hit it successfully as the creature wailed out in pain and his blood splattered all over the ground and the nearby bushes. The creature scurried, but left a bloody trail for the officer to follow. However, as the officer began searching for the creature, he noticed something different. The pose of this creature was that of a massive hyena, unlike any he had seen before, and it began shrinking in size. It shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and began transforming into a human feet, which left the officer flabbergasted, but he lost the trail and the creature disappeared into the night. The next morning he woke up to a more surprising news, as his attendants have told him of a nearby tribesman that was found dead in his bed. The cause of death was a gunshot wound. Similarly, in Somalia, in the early 2000s, there was a report of an epidemic of human-eating hyenas in the Dakar Buduk village north of Hargeisa. A married man who also happened to be a fabled Qori Ismaris was hired to deal with the problem. The details of who hired him and for how much is unknown, but he did do something which was quite unusual. He placed a request before them stating that he would disappear into the bushes and no one should follow him. They thought it was weird, but they heeded this request, and one night he disappeared into the bushes. After a few nights and a few days later, he reappeared as a man. He advised that he had extensive negotiations with the human-killing hyenas and they've come to a truce, that they won't harm the humans any longer, stating that the negotiations were successful. After that day, the killing stopped and the man disappeared, never to be heard again. Another more fascinating eyewitness account of a Werehyena happened in 1814 in the estate of an English explorer called William Coffin. Coffin said that one evening, as the sun was setting and the moon was rising, a young servant came to him to ask him to take the day off till the morning. Coffin thought nothing of it and granted him his holiday. Then he turned his head and was busy in other matters until shouts erupted from nearby servants pointing at the young man, saying he's about to transform. Just as Coffin turned his head, the man finished transforming and all Coffin could see was a big hyena running off his estate in the distance. Coffin, however, continues his tales to narrate another story, one of which was in Adowa, and this was witnessed by 50 people. A hyena was roaming near the Assam River during the night and was shot. The reasons for shooting him are unclear. It was then chased from the river to a nearby church. Whilst running away, the injured hyena was seen running away in a group of hyenas. When the men chasing the hyenas reached the church, they opened it up to see 5 naked men standing in the middle, with a supposed injured man in the middle bleeding out. Though they had spears in their hands, they were still fearful of this group of men as they suspected them of being Buddha. However, there were some gunners within the group who mustered up courage to check on the lame man. So they checked up on him and he was shot at the right place where the hyena was shot. They confirmed their suspicions that these men were Buddha, but they were fearful and they decided to leave the situation alone. But this brings us to a conclusion. Whether these hyenas are real or not, or whether these stories are real or not. It doesn't really matter, because the belief in werehyenas in some parts of the world still exists, and it doesn't seem like it'll die down anytime soon. This is a mystical Middle East mythos. Take care.